Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing on this Sunday? I always check to see if my mic's on. It always is, but compulsory habit at this point. I wanted to make another intuitive advice video today because there was something on my mind that my first intuitive advice video made me think of. And, it's something that people 20 years younger than me may want to hear, may struggle to believe that it could be true given the insular nature of the world they are in at that age. Although I suspect it's not as bad as it was in my age, given how much technology has advanced and how easier it is to communicate with people, outside your area. That wasn't a thing in my day. But what I want to get into is how high school doesn't matter now for, where I grew up. That's like blasphemy, but I am Chester County's most notorious apostate because I refuse to buy into their made up culture that high school lasts forever and that baby boomers are by definition superior and that NAFTA never happened and the '08 recession never happened and everything's just supposed to be a continuation of the status quo, and the status quo is unquestionable. I've done videos about this. I just wanted to give just enough context for that. Given my age, I'm 35, so I'm in a position to tell you teenagers that high school doesn't matter. And you might actually believe me because I'm old, but I'm not like your parents old. Your parents are, if you're a teenager watching this, your parents are most likely a little bit older than me, part of Generation X. They were probably born in the 70s, maybe early 80s. So these were the people that gave me this advice, 20 years ago. But it was a little hard for me to believe some of it. But I'm here to tell you that it is true. High school does not matter, especially if you're being fed stuff from, boomers that for some reason seem to be obsessed with those years of their life for whatever reason. Probably because they didn't amount to much. That's the bottom line of this. But I'm going to tell you in my own way how high school doesn't matter. And I'm going to give you some famous people that hated high school, and they said the same. And you can look that up. I've heard it over the years in interviews. So that'll give more veracity to what I'm saying instead of just some eccentric nobody model on YouTube with a splinter wood wall behind him. But I got to hang something back there. I know. I gotta see what I got lying around. Anyway, contrary to what might be being shoved down your throat, yeah, high school ain't the end all be all. It don't matter in the long run. And if people are telling you high school is the best 4 years of your life, then that person's life sucks. Basically, this is a dated reference, but you can look it up on YouTube, watch some clips, and you'll understand real quick of what I'm about to say. But this is, a very my age group reference. If high school is the best 4 years of your life, then you're Al Bundy. Yeah, go watch Married with Children. I grew up with it, but it was controversial in its day. Some of it's still funny, but get a context of who Al Bundy is. He's basically a guy who was the football star of his high school, was going to go to college on a scholarship, got his girlfriend, who was very popular, let's say, pregnant, and then had a paternity test, found out that it was his. He wasn't all that bright. He barely graduated high school, had a summer job at a shoe store, and bam, didn't go to college because he knocked up his girlfriend. And the show, when the time the show takes place, he's middle aged and still working at that shoe store, and constantly bugs people about his glory days. 4 touchdowns in one game. So yes, you become Al Bundy. That is not someone you want to be. Funny show, Ed O'Neill did a great job portraying the character, but you don't want to be a real life Al Bundy. Now, why do I say high school's not that important? Well, there's a few things you can't get around. Depending on where you want to go to university, yes, your grades do matter. But once you are admitted into that university, none of it, extracurriculars, honor society, AP classes, all that crap that was shoved down my throat too, nobody cares. Doesn't matter anymore. It's irrelevant. That's its only purpose, to get you in that university. Nobody cares who you dated. Nobody cares how popular you are. And that is blasphemy where I'm from. I brought a visual aid to prove that I'm telling the truth. I was a model the first time around towards the end of my time in high school. And I kept it on the DL because we still had portfolios like this back then in the early 2000s. It wasn't like my modern portfolio that's online. So if you want to check it out, there's a link to it in the About section of the channel. But, I didn't tell people that. It got out through one of my friends because I took him, he was like kind of getting down on not being at the parties. So I took him to New York to go to a party with a bunch of models I knew. And then he ran his mouth about what a big shot he is because he was a loudmouth redhead. So what are you going to do? But it got around, that I was doing modeling work for Kenneth Cole and, a couple of the really popular girls, because I was quiet in high school. I'm an INFJ, so I was real introverted back then. We become less introverted as we age, although our trust issues get worse. Regardless, I was confronted by a couple of the popular girls, like, that just couldn't understand. They're like, you may be, they weren't saying I wasn't good looking enough. She's like, how can you be a model? You're not popular in high school. So I don't know, like, what this has to do with high school popularity. The answer is nothing. But in their minds, like, everything traced back to, what group you're in high school, who you know, and all that, as if that stage of life is never going to end. But love it or hate it, it's 4 years, and it's an artificial environment. In the real world, you are not, in an environment with hundreds or thousands of people within 3 years of your age. It's just not how life works. And as I said in my other video, people move, Here's the other big thing. People actually date and fall in love with people they didn't go to the same high school with. I know, it's just madness, but I swear it happens. And you're going to find once you leave that you no longer have to conform to whatever the status quo of your high school, your hometown is, because you go to university, the bigger the better. It's going to be people from all over, from all different walks of life that aren't going to know, the hometown where you come from. They're not going to know. They're not going to know your high school. They're not going to care. Nobody's going to care. You're going to be judged based on who you are and how you act in that moment because, well, that's all they know. And, they're not all the whisper and gossip and gaslighting that goes on in high school. It doesn't really go on because there's just too many damn people. You go to Penn State when there's 40,000 people, a lot different than a Catholic high school with 400 people per class kind of thing. And not everybody's known each other since they were 5, which is nice. So you're not constantly hearing about, things that happen, remember when he dated her 5 years ago? Why? Like, why? So, and yes, it's another reason why, if you're thinking, wow, this environment sucks, then yes, get out of your hometown too, because otherwise, the ones that think high school's the shit, they don't leave, and they keep hanging out with the same people, usually work for family businesses, they're usually nepotist, but they'll be my age, I'm 35 again, and they'll still be talking about who hooked up with who 20 years ago as if it's relevant. It's not. A lot of times, the ones that are talking about high school, about how great it was, yeah, they didn't age well either, but I digress from that. So, aside from getting you into whatever university you want to go to, high school doesn't matter at all. I've seen people when I was in university that, they burn out. They had like 2.4 GPAs, and these are the people with like 4.2s in high school, and were all bent out of shape that they didn't get in the grad school, because they thought their high school grades would get them in. And don't. They're not relevant. Nobody cares. When it's over, and it's never relevant again. Once you're out of high school, once you, and if you're not looking to go to a big name university, you know what they care about high school? Did you graduate? That's it. If you're looking to go to the military or into the trades, or if you're, going to be like super cool like me and going to try to become a professional firefighter right out of right out of high school, which I highly recommend to anybody who, likes that helping people and wants that teamwork setting without being like a paramilitary cop. And, if you want to work 2 days a week, 24-hour shifts, and have a solid union and good benefits. You can have a side job that you're into on the side. It's a good way to go. You gotta like living in a city because that's where those jobs are. But if you're like me and you spent your teen years longing to free yourself of the suburbs, yes, Subdivisions by Rush is a very good example of what my teen years were like. And this can be daunting to think because, it's so beaten into you how important it is, and can be quite annoying, especially if you're an introvert, as I am, INFJ, to be specific, and we don't really care what other people think. It's in our nature, You're an INFJ male, well, you're rare. You're really rare, like me. But if you stumble across this, you can probably relate to it. It's like all the backbiting and the gossip and the cliques and people trying to please each other. It's like, other than whatever girl I have a crush on right now, I don't care what any of these people think because, in a year, 2 years, whatever it may be, you have time left. I don't plan on ever seeing any of these people again. That's the kind of thing. It's like, and plus, as an INFJ, you're like, I see how fake you are. I see that you're lying. Leave me alone or I'm going to spotlight you. Yeah, they don't like that. People that are fake don't like being exposed at all. But, keep in mind that what you think is like the end all be all will soon become irrelevant and it'll never be relevant again. And the people that try to make it relevant again have nothing else. That truly is the case. I mean, with social media now and stuff, you can usually, look to see like who burned out and who was full of shit. We didn't really have that right away. Well, Facebook was only for college students when I was in high school. We didn't have smartphones because they didn't come out till 2007. And I graduated in 2005. So there's that. But know that if you think high school's a bunch of BS, it's because it is. It is. There is this obsession in American culture for some reason that like teenage years in high school is all that, because you don't see it. Like my friends in the UK, it's like, no, it's not hyped up like that. And don't think like, well, high school, your reputation and all that's the foundation for the rest of your life. No, there's plenty of like really attractive, really successful, like really desirable people that talked about how they were miserable in high school and picked on. Some which it makes no sense. Like Amelia Clark was picked on in high school. Who could pick on like, you know, someone as sweet as Amelia Clark and as pretty? She is my type, so I'm pretty biased, but because she is like dead on my type. So maybe that's not a good example. But Keanu Reeves said the same thing. I mean, he's like the nicest guy ever. He's a very successful actor. He hated high school. Johnny Depp hated high school. Kit Harington hated high school. Starting to see a pattern here. So, success in high school don't mean nothing other than, getting you into the university you want to go to. But that's its only purpose. That's it. That's it. Applying for jobs. No one cares about what extracurricular activities you did in high school or what your grades were. They care that you graduated, and that's it. Unless you're in like a nepotistic place like Chester County, where it's all about, well, who'd you take to prom, and who were you friends with on the football team? Because high school forever here. But in the normal world, in the normal world, nobody cares. And if you're in an area like where I grew up, if that hits home, get out. So that is, my middle-aged advice, reflecting back on how what the baby boomers, my parents, tried to shove down my throat, and how it was a lie. Oh, and any degree is a good degree is a lie too. But I'll do another video about, university and all that. Just want to get this point out there. If anybody, of that age group is stressed out, like, I'm told these years are supposed to be so great and I'm miserable and this is supposed to be the best years of my life. I'm going to tell you something right now. Plain talk. If high school was the best years of my life, I would not be here right now. You get the drift there. So, don't worry. You don't have to play the game. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. And once you're free of that insular, fake environment, incestuously fake, then, you can set your own way in the military and work in university, fire department if you're cool enough, and meet people that you actually like, that you want to be around, and, you're not forced to interact with because you happen to live in the same area. You can actually find people that, you actually relate to. They may be a little older than you too. They were for me. So, yeah, high school doesn't mean anything. And to those that think it's the end all be all, they're miserable. They're miserable and they're living in the past. As I said, they're Al Bundy. So keep that in mind. I hope this was helpful. I'm telling the truth as I always do, because INFJs do. So do not despair. If high school is miserable for you, it's 4 years. Show up at the last minute, put your time in. As soon as you step out of the building for the day, don't think about it. That's what I did. And I had plenty of stuff I actually enjoyed going on outside of it. you can interact with people you don't go to high school with, maybe even like, yeah, oh, you're not going to the cool high school parties, then go to college parties with your older friends at that age like I did. Get it? No, not gonna, nope. It's about to say something, but it would be legal to obtain something that would allow you to, go to establishments that have a minimum age requirement to partake in the types of beverages that they serve. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend that. But nonetheless, don't despair. High school sucks. High school steak. But luckily, it's only 4 years. And when it's gone and it's done forever.